Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome back to me in a rare state. On this delightful Friday morning. The final Friday in the month of September. I'm going to like some sort of moonlight festival tonight at the Huntington Library. I love the Huntington Library. It is a place for adult people. Like I would say, like if you can appreciate a garden, like I think if you're like 20, you can't really appreciate a garden. I might have mentioned it before, but I'll mention it again. I have a collegiate degree. I have a bachelor's degree, and my degree is in English. And I have read a great many things in my life. A great many things. The thing that developed in me earliest in my life was reading. I was reading books way above my level when I was very young. And when I got into high school, I had an English teacher, and she said, you know, you'd probably really like Orwell. So when I was about 15 years old, I want to say, I read 1984 by George Orwell. And I had to write a book report on 1984 by George Orwell. And I considered it to be, at that time, at the age of 15, the worst book that I'd ever read. I found it unbelievably boring. I couldn't understand any of the imagery. I couldn't read any of the subtext. And then, fast forward some 20-ish years, and my children at this time were small, and they were still fun at that time. If you have adult children, you know what I mean. They were still fun at that time. They were in that, like, pre-K, first grade, second grade area. And we would go down to the library together, and they would check out books, and I would check out a book. My favorite genre of books throughout my whole life has been dystopian fiction. Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, I think, is one of the greatest novels ever to have been written, because it was as if he had traveled forward into the future. So I was going through the library stock of dystopian fiction, and I checked out 1984. I was like, I will give it a try, because it's been over 20 years since I read it. And when you read 1984, after you've had kids, after you've got a mortgage and all that stuff, and you're in your 30s or your 40s, it will hit you like a hammer. And if it doesn't, then maybe you are leading a life so blissful that you can't be impacted by fiction. But 1984, like, affected me. Affected me as much as when I read Douglas Copeland's Generation X, which, if you are a person who is born between that the years that are claimed to that generation, if you read the novel Generation X and it doesn't resound with you, like you don't feel it viscerally, then you might not be Generation X. You might want to be one of those generational outliers. And I completely lost the plot of where I was going when I was talking about 1984. What I am talking about is that I have a day, right about now, where I'm not guilty about not painting. But I'm kind of bummed that I'm not painting. It'd be the perfect day for it, because I'm going to Huntington is a library. There was a connection there. 20 and 22 are virtually done except for paint. 22's G2 knuckle setup is at the post office as of this speaking. Should be here today. I hope to have it installed over the weekend. I hope to get him painted over the weekend. Big fingers crossed on that one. So, truth be told, 22 will probably be done first. I kind of have mentally decided on the simplest paint job for him. Then it will be 22 and then 20. I'm going to start the mask work on 20. I mean it. Who here is as surprised by the performance of the impromptu Birth of Skeeter 23? I still, like, usually if a parts bin goes together, you know, but the Fusks are doing it. All the parts in there are doing it. And speaking of 23, so we don't know what's what. These are Rusty's old axles, which are for the Evil Twin. The TRX4 gearbox that I had set aside for these is now in 23. But I'm pretty sure I have enough parts to put together another TRX4 gearbox. Like, I've got plastic and gears and shafts just loose. And I think I have enough to assemble at least a single speed, but hopefully a 2-speed, because still here on the bench from Injora is a 2-speed bracket. It's because I want the Evil Twin to have a 2-speed. We then have Clank's axles. Clank has a gearbox. He has that 2-speed, the Benedict Harry 2-speed, which we mentioned before. So he's pretty well set. I've often said that the only thing preventing a rig from being birthed into existence is axles and a gearbox. But in this case, it's chassis. Like, I don't know, for the Evil Twin, do we go all in and make something, or should this guy be a TRX4 on top? Like, get him as close to Rusty as we can, because then we have upcoming beyond that. I have no idea when this will be. I found another set of Mias axles, the same axles that are on Ratchet. I found them on Amazon and was sent in by one of you lovely people, one of the fake Tulos. So those are going together on a rig at some point in the future. And I've been contacted by a channel subscriber that asked if I want to build a rig for them, and they have a list of parts potentially longer than the list of parts that went together to form 22 and most of 23. So I don't know when that's going to start, but when that starts, that'll start. So we're kind of built out through the end of the year. Yeah. Someone had also sent it like that's a whole gearbox. So we've got stuff to build, and I guess what I'm trying to do is talk myself into finishing the ones that are already started before we start another one. And then, Skeeter came out of nowhere. So upcoming, I don't know what the actual order is over the weekend. I would like to get a dumb in on Sunday, but I've got the Huntington Library tonight. I've got some sort of community service thing through my wife's work on Saturday morning, and ordinarily I try to get some stuff done on Saturday morning, but she tells me I do too much on weekends, and, she's probably not wrong. So, I've tested megalithics. They'll be up this weekend. They might be up on Sunday, and we might not have a dumb this Sunday, because I honestly don't have the time to film it, really, because I'm trying to get concrete into the third Montana, into Hannah, Montana, because I want to get that thing put down, and we'll talk about that more in a second. Ratchet is going to do a test coming up. The same gentleman who brought by the megalithics dropped off this set of Hyrax LPs, the 2.2s. These are all done up. Three Brothers, the dual stage, where they actually come in 2 rings. Fancy wheels, fancy tires, fancy inserts, fancy everything. 2.2 LPs, which are basically the same size as a 2.2 Canyon Trail. So Ratchet is just going to take them out and just do a head-to-head. His cut and siped Canyon Trails versus, I don't even want to know what this costs, like, in total. But we'll find out. I don't have just one. I have the whole set. And look forward to Wednesday of this week, where there will be a ploffering. For sure there will be another ploffering installment, because I can't, they won't even fit on the rack anymore. It's mostly AliExpress stuff that hasn't really worked. Like, we've got a lot. I look at tires like the JD model Trepador, which is just categorically awful. And I think, well, we should keep those. And I'm like, why should I keep these? They're just taking up space on the rack. They'll never be used. I realize that people have things like trailers or RC tugboats. They'd go great on the side of your RC tugboat. So there will be a sizable number of tires coming up. Like, it will be almost all tires. But that will be up on Wednesday. So we've got the Hyrax LPs. We got megalithics coming up. I did a servo test on a DS power servo that was sent in. That will be up in the next couple days. I have a goal. If any of you have seen the Canyon Builders shorts that have been going up over the past week, my goal is to make $1 on shorts. $1. The most I have made in a month on shorts content has been 14 cents. To give you an idea of what the payout rate, because YouTube is based on engagement. And in a 60-second short, like 1 in 8 people will watch all 60 seconds. The other 7 people will watch 3 seconds and then go on to the next one. So your engagement is at the floor. Like, it's almost as bad as it could be. So I'm going to just keep uploading shorts like that, impromptu shorts, to see if I can get up to $1. So far, of the 8 that have been uploaded, a single one was picked up by the algorithm for 1 hour. Like in the middle of the night. Like 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. It picked that one up, and the view, it almost has as much views. I want to say it's number 5. Has as much views as 1 through 4 combined. Because that's how the algorithm works. The algorithm works in a way that none of us can understand. Because when I log in and a short has 2.3 million views, and it was uploaded like 2 days before, like, who are they showing this to? Anyway, that's neither here nor there. We have definitely got enough stuff for the next while, and stuff might come in, and that's fine, and it'll intersperse in. I'm gonna paint soon. I promise. I have to be up to like 18 or 20 cans of paint. I'm accumulating paint and trying to build up in me the desire to paint. To paint. If I just keep the schemes a little more simple, I think we can punch through this. I think we can get through this. Yeah. I have not touched a rattle can, so even Toothless still remains unpainted. So what we'll do is I have a battery charged. I charged a battery last night. Is it this one? No. I have somewhere here on this bench, on this mess of a bench, there is a battery that has been charged. That's not it. I don't know. Somewhere. I'll find it. We'll throw it in a rig. We'll pick somebody. Oh! Did I find it? Yeah. Wait. Focus. Focus. There you go. Yeah, that's pretty good. That one's holding pretty good. That's one of those gold. That's one of those Z's. It's holding pretty good. So we got a full battery. We'll take it outside. We got to wheel around a little bit because that's what we do on weekly updates. We've always wheeled around a little bit. Maybe we'll just drive around Hannah, Montana, because we're gonna insert in here a little bit of long form. I'm gonna start mixing. I'm gonna mix a bucket. We're gonna mix a bucket and we're gonna apply part of a bucket, and we're gonna see how that goes. We're gonna test how the microphones handle the sound of a Harbor Freight cement mixer. So we're going to go through the mixing process and the application process, and I'll go a little bit of laydown, because I don't think I've ever really shown this step. So the other is just piling rocks on top of each other, but this is my method. I'll show you my method so you can kind of see the consistency that I go for when I'm assembling. I don't know. And I will give a little breakdown of the tools. I'll try not to stretch it out too long. Oh, and before we head outside, I set up a cafe press store. I will try my best to put a link in the description below this. I also put it on the community board. It's just Crawler Canyon on Cafe Press. There's a couple t-shirts on there. It has the clunkiest interface I've ever seen. It's really, really bad. The website loads really slow. I set the markup to every item that I've listed. It's basically just a bunch of different types of t-shirts that say Crawler Canyon. It has the splash logo that you've seen at the front of every video for about the last 6 months. It has that across the front, and then 3 of them hidden in there say Nobody Watches Wheel and Wednesday on the back. I can change the designs and alter the designs to anything anybody might want. And if there's a type of like t-shirt or something, a hat, what I don't know, that's not on there, let me know and I will add it. Did I mention that I put the markup on everything at $2? So I make $2. $2 off of every shirt that is sold. And honestly, if you think they're $2 too expensive, let me know and I'll just take the $2 off, because if nothing else, I had mentioned when I was selling Scion parts hot and heavy, there was crossover between Yaris and other vehicles that were sold outside the U.S. domestic market. So I had shipped parts to other lands. I sent parts to somewhere in Eastern Europe. It wasn't Romania. Somewhere in Eastern Europe. I've sent parts to Australia. I've sent parts to Japan. I've sent parts to Spain. And I would eat it on the shipping. Like, I would make no money on that order just because it tickled me to know that bushings or panels or whatever I was making inside this very building were installed in a car on the other side of the planet. So that appealed to me. So the idea of someone wearing a t-shirt that says Crawler Canyon on it, which could you get more obscure? Like, maybe 5,000 people. So let's say it's double the subscriber number. Let's say 10,000 people in the world know what Crawler Canyon is. The idea of someone from a far-flung land wearing a t-shirt just tickles me to no end. So buy, if it's within your capabilities, buy a t-shirt. Just know that we make basically nothing. You know, it's you know what? It's not about the money. It's not about the money. So right now it's about making a mess. First we'll decide who's going to get the wheel. Yeah, okay. He's right here. Is this a 4S guy? Yeah, no, that's a 3S guy. Yeah. I didn't want to have to walk. That's how I feel today. So, Ghost Rover it is, chosen purely out of laziness. Just have to remember where his radio is. So we've got builds aplenty. We've got stuff to do. I've got another, what are we guessing? 4,000 pounds of concrete that needs to be mixed. I have so many things that need painted. I think about it at night. Boy, I hope that's on. Yeah, that's on. That's on. And I invite you to come along with me as we knock everything over. As for whatever reason, I now feel like I'm rushing. I don't know. I don't know how my brain works. If any of y'all have any insight, I don't know. You know what's a phrase that's funny to me? Everything has to have a name, right? Categorization is apparently inherent to the human spirit. So whenever I hear a person say with their mouth, neurotypical, I'm like, what is that even? Like, what is that? Who is to say what's normal? Like, who's normal? I don't know what normal is. Here's a sign. If you're looking for a sign to tell that you might have too many rigs, when you pick a rig up and you literally have to Rubik's Cube it in your hands to figure out where the power switch is. Whoo, that's noisy. What's his KV? 1800? Yeah, 1850. Let's go mush around. Then a test of microphone integrity as maybe we're going to get loud. Come with me, will you? I know I had mentioned somewhat recently that I had to switch to not a new tripod, not specifically an old tripod, but the tripod that I was using prior to getting that Joby Quick Action tripod, which I love. But the Joby Quick Action is really made for cell phones. It does not it can't handle the whole weight of what we're working with here. So I've gone back to this Joyle can, which are what I was using for about the first, I don't know, 18 months. I purloined this from my younger kid when they were still doing stuff like TikToks. They were using this big, overbuilt, crazy tripod, which this thing goes so tall, I have to have 2 of the leg sections collapsed. Otherwise, the field monitor is above my head, which it's kind of impressive. This side is not what I would call set in yet. This is very fresh. So it's effectively loose mortar mix is what we're making. It gets very chalky / sandy on the surface. So this will get scrubbed out eventually. You can see all the the differential in color on it. It will eventually fade out to a really light tan, but I genuinely prefer it to this, concrete, the just bleak neutral gray of concrete. I'm gonna try a little slow here. So this section, it being that chalky sandy on the top, you got to introduce more beans to kind of clean the top surface off. But I'm trying to, oh, you could see it. Well, maybe you could. There it is. Nope. As the tires scrub away, there's more bite under the top. We're asking a lot of the holds here. This new stuff it's really slick. It's been here for 48 hours, so concrete generally about 30 days to fully cure. Oh, can I get the little pirouette there? So we have a lot of lines to build here. And I think we're going to begin just what's in right-hand frame. That's where we're going to go momentarily. Need to get a little wheeling in on a wonderfully overcast morning. A little lower speed. Nope. When I started building this, when I was building this side with the little stair step arrangement here, I thought to myself, we got to make something that's properly difficult. And lo and behold, there's a couple lines of it that I would consider to be properly difficult. But then the rest of it, I was like, well, if a line's not getting used, we've got to build over that line because it means it's not working. It's either too difficult or too easy. And much of this I thought to be too easy. We don't so much have that problem now. Once we can, there we go. There's a summit. Once we can punch through, it's all right. And from this side, you can From this side, you can really see the color changes brought about by how thick is the material in that area. Oh, as I said, Hannah, the most dangerous of the Montanas. So the fill here, where he's passing just there to his left, pretty thicky right there. Some abrasions on it. We've tried to kind of wheel up it a little bit, but it's still pretty chopped up. He has straight axle. He could use a little more weight up front, methinks. Trying to get that tire up. Yeah, you can see the rear tire just kicking sand. Yeah, you don't want to fall in right there. This is the new murder hole. We're gonna try. Yeah, we'll discretion is the better part of valor. We won't even in this episode or the next. It will appear in one of the shorts, I'm sure. When I do my mortar mix, this is all basically just sloppy mortar mix because it's just sand and plastic cement. There's no aggregate. I make an effort. It's all sifted. I make an effort to have no aggregate because you will see why when we get here up to tooling. I can hear. Oh yeah, see coming up under that passenger rear. Ordinarily, the sit and spin is not an effective technique, But places like Slick Rock have been worn, they've been worn all the way down. This is not worn down at all. Oh, that's a bad location. So I wanted to build something more difficult. I wanted to build something kind of dangerous where you can actually fall off of it. This is the line that I'd been attempting at. Yeah, there it is. It is quite steep, and the goal is to just make line on line on line on line to where you've just got what? Oop, nope. That was a lot of tire on the way down. We got very little Lexan. So in that line on line, you've got just so many different places to attack. This is actually good. I mean, it means taking the gloves on and off a lot, but having a rig with you, pick somebody, and the spirit lives on. The Gate Rover was kind of my guy. Build a line that is just difficult enough to make it tough on Gate Rover, because you know if he can just make it, then we've made something that's difficult enough but not impossible. And I think in his Ghost Rover form, not his Gate Rover form, I think he's actually a little better at it because he's still got that capability, but because he's built so super long travel, he can fall out a lot. So other rigs will be better at this. He's also straight axle, and building rigs, if all you have is building obstacles, if the only rig you have is a portal, can indeed get you into a little bit of trouble because you're going to build stuff around portal clearances, which many of the obstacles here are. So we'll use his long travel instead. Yeah, low speed here. You can see, because it doesn't have that chalky sandiness on the top, he gets no slip moving slab to slab. A little bit of slip here. Can we pivot it around and... Oh, yeah, he's... Oh, kick and roost. Get up there. Get up there. You can see that kicked skid. Yeah, he's just... Oh, you know what he is? He was, of course, completely out of frame. So, you know, driving out of frame. That's the thing. I've got a monitor. I still drive out of frame. What I need to do now is we're going to take this guy over. We'll set him on the bench. We are going to get the hoses up and running. We'll get the mixer ready. We'll get the pre-prep, and I'm going to run you through it. We'll try not to make it take an hour, but, I mean, it might take we'll find out. We'll find out together. If you're not using a mixer, don't worry about it. Most of the canyon was built without a mixer. I still do everything in relatively small batches. This mixer is what they would call a one-sacker, meaning it mixes one sack at a time. If you're talking quick read, a 90-pound bag, it'll do a 90-pound bag at a time. So, the important thing are the ratios, because I try to get my ratio relatively close. This is an all screw container. It holds a quart, right? So we dump in a quart. Ordinarily, this would be running. I like to drop it when it's running, but I don't know how much the audio is going to blow out. So we put in, this is where it gets messy. Then we got cement color. We're almost empty because we were at the tail of the bag. We do about a glug. That's what you need for a full wheelbarrow's worth, that about ounce and change. And we've got I think it's called Flex bond to surface. For that we do about 3 glugs. Call that a triple glug. That's how accurate our measurements are. And then we find out structural integrity of microphones. And yes, nitrile dip gloves are the way to go. These were Milwaukee's. I tend to wear the cheaper ones. And now I'm kind of regretting wearing the cheaper ones because my hands, after the last bout of this, didn't look as ripped to shreds as they usually did. So that's a positive. As you see, it's super quiet. And then we just start adding sand. The sand, these are 2-gallon buckets. So if you were mixing this by hand or in a tub or in a wheelbarrow, it's just 8 to 1. Whatever your small increment is, if it's a cup, if it's 1 liter, then it's 8 liters of the other material to 1 liter of the other. That looks okay. Second bucket in, pour it slow, because these mixers are spitters, and I got a microphone on my chest, and I don't want it to stick. It will hit it directly with the cup. That's how I'm happy with this. And then I will slowly add the second. Starting to spin a little. You gotta get. That's why we gloves. You gotta get more and more careful each time you dump, because if you're using a mixer, it's gonna come for you. Whoa. It's a little wet. And basically what you want to see when it's mixing, whether you're in a tub, in a wheelbarrow, or in here, is there's not going to be enough contrast, but it will just pull away from the bucket like that. If it's staying up on the sides of the bucket, it's too wet. And if it's clumping up into balls, if it doesn't pour like a liquid, it's too dry. I don't know if we're going to pass any slump tests, but that's pretty much perfect. So to be what constitutes a bucket, I do 2 batches of that. So it's 8 total buckets of sand and 4 buckets of this total to fill one up, and then we'll take it over there. I think I get distracted, and I think the second batch was actually a triple, because ordinarily the wheelbarrow is not this full. It's super full. I cannot film and make concrete at the same time. So we've got our boy the metal bucket. This is just my transfer bucket. I've used plastic buckets, and the concrete will dry them out and kill them. What you like for brushes is really an individual thing. These two seem identical, but this one holds more water. This one, the bristles are a little stiffer. This one, the bristles are even stiffer still. They're all in that kind of masonry brush area. If I had to pick one, it would be this particular one. It's a Marshalltown. I think it's it might be for bricks, maybe for bricklayers. I'm not 100% sure. Starting at the top, because I find that that's the easiest. Maybe it's because I'm tall. We start at the top. Ordinarily, I would do a little more fill work. Like I would use the scrap and debris that I got from the container, whatever small pieces, to fill these gaps and voids, like that void that just ate a bunch of concrete. But I have quite a supply of sand. Yeah, like this little gap is just gonna swallow this up. Oh, that might be too big. Maybe a little bit like that. It'll be pretty dry on the surface now. I'm getting the tripod all wet. And then take a good old bucket of water, find a spot to set it where it's not gonna tip over. And again, it's mostly top to bottom. This is where we're programming in the first level of difficulty. The more material you leave in spots, the less difficult it's going to make it, because we're taking away gaps and crevices and whatnot. I want to leave a little bit of open dirt here along this left-hand edge. Let some green things come up. Push down. You'll kind of get a feeling of when this is drying out. water. You don't have to worry about setting all of your difficulty here, because much later on, you're going to mix this like mortar, which is very dry, and you're going to apply it with a trowel, and that's how you're going to get your final finish. That's how we're going to seal all the cracks. That's how we're going to get the final look of what we want it to do. But I do spend some time and watering it down, trying to get it pre-finished. Like, this is already way too flat. This is already way too flat. So I can already tell by looking, we need something here, we need something along here. Otherwise, I can, over time, you will be able to develop the sense for where lines are gonna go. As human beings, will pick the softest line they can. Don't want to leave soft lines behind. But we just keep doing this. And I limit myself to one bag at a time. And honestly, if you're working in some sort of reasonably sized area, you're not going to need to mix more than a bag anyway. Like, that was, you saw about 5 little hand buckets to cover this amount of space here, and this is still what's left in the wheelbarrow, and we will do 6 or 7 of these today. So the goal is turn this camera off, turn some music on, finish out this section here, and come all the way across that outer ledge here, and then with however much of the bag is left, we'll see where we go from there. But that's the goal for now. Get this all preset, and then we can do the mortar in a couple days, because like this little oogie boogie mouth up here and these holes, I got to get rid of those. Those pull me out of it. They don't look like a mountain to me. They still look like a big old pile of concrete chunks. So it will adapt and it will flow and it will form, and we still have all of this stuff to use for whatever. I want to do a little bit over on the other side. You can see that looks like a second ridge. There's another ridge over on the other side where I'm trying to build up the lip of that obstacle. But you just take your time, go at your own pace. It's no rush. It took the mountains 25 million years to make the stuff that is sitting in front of you right now. Actually longer than that, really. So it doesn't matter if it takes a couple weeks. I hope that this comes out in the edit. I really do. I feel like I should record 2 outros to be like, well, I'm sorry you didn't get to hear any of that. We'll just put it on fast forward skip. But we're gonna struggle through it, even if I've got to put some closed captions on it. So I got to get this edited by a certain time of the day so that we can beat the upload, which is like why I should stop recording weekly updates on Fridays. Like, maybe I should do this the day before. But sometimes I don't have everything ready the day before. So, well, thank you for joining me here in the canyon. We did a little bit of wheeling. We did a lot of gabbing. We got stuff coming up. We got all sorts of good things. Be sure to check out the Cafe Press store if you're interested in sending $2 to the canyon by buying a t-shirt. Follow along. I'll probably have a short up before you even see this. Ooh, timeception. We'll see how that goes. I try, even more so than in rig building, I just tend to fall into the groove. I get into the groove. You got to prove your love to me when I'm doing this, because I am going to get like this. This is the state of me already. I will be dried out and completely covered in concrete within the next 60 minutes. So thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching this part of this. Please do comment below, like and subscribe, consider channel membership, all the usual stuff. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody. Look forward to the upcoming content. Thank you for dropping by the canyon. I invite you to do so again in the future. Have a good one, everybody. I am going to get to actual work.